Hello, my name is Ashley Anijoki Harris. I have worked with Jacqueline Morales on this project, and today we will be discussing systemic racism and how we might help to solve this problem. I will be reading for slides 2, 4, and 6. What is systemic racism? As stated by the Aspen Institute, structural racism, also referred to as systemic or institutional racism, is described as a system in which public policies, institutional practices, cultural representations, and other norms work in various, often reinforcing ways to perpetuate racial groups' inequality. It identifies dimensions of our history and culture that have allowed privileges associated with quote unquote whiteness and disadvantages associated with our quote unquote color to endure and adapt over time. Structural racism is not something that a few people or institutes choose to practice. Instead, it has been a feature of the social, economical, and political systems in which we all exist. Basically, meaning it's not something that in our modern day we choose to implement. It's just something that's been so engraved into our history and our culture in America and other countries as well that we just haven't changed yet.
The problem and its relevance to self, students, and society. At the Urban Institute, they examine how structural racism continues to segregate communities of color from access to opportunity and upward mobility by making it more difficult for people of color to secure quality education, jobs, housing, healthcare, and equal treatment in the criminal justice system.
On slide 4, we show a diagram. The diagram is basically to help explain how structural racism can affect all aspects of life. Here we have listed education, health, employment, community, housing, and criminal justice. They all link around, but they all somehow manage to lead back to the social and economic system. Structural racism can really help to plague all of these aspects of our everyday life. And it's time that we start being more aware and educating ourselves on why that is and how we can help to prevent it.
What we can do to help fight systemic racism. C.J. Sapong interview. When C.J. Sapong spoke about how he constantly dealt with an internal battle because he never knew if he could speak up about Black Lives Matter, even if he was a black man that had faced racial inequalities because of his job. This was a huge opportunity for a sort of reconciliation from the speakers because they were lucky enough to not have ever gone through the same injustices.
How might we solve this problem? Here are some solutions that we provided. They aren't confined to only one race, but are for people of color who have been disadvantaged by structural racism. Some of the solutions are closing the racial wealth gap, eliminating inequalities and public school quality, closing the employment and earning gaps, ending punitive policing, and we definitely would want to increase inclusive and diverse ads in modern advertising today. We have our works cited page next, but thank you so much for listening to our presentation.